Hello YouTubers. This video is about learning how to upgrade your existing ASP.NET Core 5 project from version 5 to version 6 preview. We have done something very similar with our Blazor application side of our project OtripleS, and today we're going to do the same thing with the API. The only difference here is that, in the previous video we talked a little bit about, what are the advantages that you get out of ASP.NET 6 with Blazor. You get the ability to run your applications as mobile views or desktop views. You get to actually do a hot reload to your application, so you don't have to rebuild and rerun every single time. Now is the time to talk a little bit about the other side or the other benefits of having upgrading your API to ASP.NET Core 6. Now, before I start this, and usually most of the videos that I make that targets a particular technology upgrade, I have to first, talk a little bit about the purpose. Why would I upgrade, my ASP.NET Core API? I see a lot of people, throughout my life, really, I've seen a lot of people say, don't just run after the shiny things, don't upgrade unless you really, really, really have to. And some of these things that people say, to kind of shut down any existing, modernization or evolution process. This is a bad mindset. Don't have that mindset. That mindset basically will end you up with a situation where you have skipped, 3 or 4 major releases of a particular framework that your system is built on top on, and then on the 7th release, you will come in and say, well, there's this new feature that is mandatory and we have to have it, and in order for us to do this, we're going to have to go through all these major versions. If you just do the leap like this and jump over, it becomes almost as troublesome and as daunting as rewriting the entire app from scratch. And I've been there and I've seen this in real life. Please make sure, like, as long as you're in this tech industry, as long as you're building software, make sure that you're in a continuous state of learning, you're in a continuous state of growth. Don't just look at a particular system and say, well, it's running, I don't want to touch it, right? If there is active development on your application, and if there is active requirement gathering and active, customers that are still using your application, and you expect that the application will continue to be in development mode, not in maintenance mode, then I highly urge you to go and do that. Now, you heard me say maintenance mode and development mode. What does that mean? There are active applications that, like, you release version 3 and people are expecting version 4. You release 4 and people are expecting 5. And there are applications that are just sitting there, right? You're putting them in maintenance mode because you're not interested in an expansion on the client base for the system. You're just keeping it running until, it doesn't have any more clients. You're seeing the charts with decline. I would personally, as an entrepreneurial engineer, would ask, why don't you supercharge that application, try to, push it up a little bit and see if you can gain more clients. But sometimes some of these applications, they replace each other, right? So a new system comes in and puts the other system in sunset mode, and you just start, a new beginning, right, for everybody. Now, even for these applications that are running in maintenance mode, you can take advantage of these applications by, doing a little bit of experimentation and training to yourself to see what would be the outcome of upgrading a particular application in maintenance mode. Even the applications that are in maintenance mode still require security patches, still require, some vulnerabilities that have been discovered to be immediately upgraded. Every release that comes in, it doesn't have to necessarily have all fancy and shiny things that people say, okay, this is the new thing and we need to upgrade to that. No, sometimes it comes in with really, really important security issues that are being resolved through that library, and it's really, really important that you keep your application secure, especially if you're building something that involves people's data and some secrets, and communications and all that kind of stuff. You want to stay up to date at all times, and if you don't do that, you're going to run into that trap of not being able to keep up with technology, but at the same time, your application eventually will run into a state of halt where you have to either rewrite the entire system or do an open heart surgery and figure out what needs to be upgraded since the API don't match anymore. So, so the bottom line of this, yeah, keeping up to date, upgrading your libraries, making sure everything is up to date is important, right? And because of that, I use projects like OtripleS and Tarafu and all of these open source projects that I try to, sponsor and host, on GitHub to show people a real life development process where people actually involve in a real life development. They take a look at existing code and existing platforms, and they basically see how an entire API with tremendous amount of capabilities would stay up to date, regardless of how many features it has, to continue to be a source of inspiration and a source of learning for engineers who take a look at it and learn from it. So here's what we're going to do today. Now that you understand that, evolving is important, upgrading your software is always important. Let's go ahead and here. There's this beautiful article that Daniel Roth published on Microsoft Dev Blogs. He talks a little bit about the new version of .NET 3, .NET 6 Preview 3, which is available, and he talks from first on a high level perspective. What are the new changes that are coming to .NET 6 with that is about to be released very soon. So some of these things are mainly web pages, web applications related, Blazor server and all that kind of stuff. And then you get the HTTP 3 endpoint, configuration, which basically, if you go down here a little bit, you'll see that the standard itself, the international standard, it's not Microsoft thing, it's everybody thing, where everyone gets together and there is an international standard about a particular protocol of communication, and it doesn't matter what technology you're using. Just like OData protocol, it's international standard, doesn't have anything to do with a particular company or a particular technology. This one here says that the work is beginning to ramp up on the support of HTTP 3 and .NET 6. So by the time you get the release, you're getting full support of HTTP 3, right? Brings a lot of advantage, over HTTP protocol, faster connection, setup, and improved performance and low quality networks. Now, here's the thing that I personally really like about HTTP 3, something that, I really appreciate. There's this gentleman here that put an extensive comparison. His name is Srini Telakula. I hope I'm saying that name right. He's comparing HTTP 3 to HTTP 2. And one of the most interesting things about HTTP 3 versus HTTP 2 is that when you're communicating, sending JSON or sending data over the wire, that's, the slang for the, industry. When you hear someone talking about pushing data over the wire, that's basically these packets that are going through a particular network connection, from one source to one destination. The beautiful thing about HTTP 3 is that, the interruption of one packet doesn't interrupt the entire stream. What that basically means is that if you scroll down here a little bit, you'll see that he basically says that one of the main touted advantages of HTTP 3 is increased performance, specifically around fetching multiple objects simultaneously. So with HTTP 2, any eruption, any packet loss in the TCP connection blocks all streams, right? So imagine you're sending, multiple objects through the stream, to a particular destination. Let's say one packet got interrupted, right? It stops the entire stream from continuing. The HTTP 3 is UDP based, so basically if one of the packet gets dropped, it's only one, it's the only packet that gets interrupted and the stream goes by. He did this really cool, I think it's JavaScript, communication. It looks like a game, but he basically, I really appreciate people who actually put the kind of time and effort into, perfecting their craft and trying to actually get the point across in a creative way. Anyway, here's what he's saying. He's saying basically, let's say the client is sending a request to the server and the server is responding, right? It looks like a game. And, let's say some interruption happened and a particular packet got lost, right? So you lost packet. See, what happens here is that when the packet, the stream is coming back to the client, if one packet is interrupted, the entire stream fails, right? Now take a look at HTTP 3. In HTTP3, if a packet gets interrupted, the entire packet gets dropped, but the rest of the stream goes by, especially if there is no dependency between one packet and another, in that connection. It makes much more sense to have more, how do I say, you're breaking your stream, into multiple deliverables, right? And these deliverables, if one of them is lost, it doesn't break the entire connection, which is a huge advantage, especially if you're doing some sort of streaming service, or something that is high volume, high demand, request per second kind of communication. That's definitely something you can take advantage of. And I hope I get the chance to actually do a test between the two different frameworks, so .NET 5, HTTP2, .NET 6, HTTP3. See how that would work out, how that protocol would work out. I personally, looking forward to building something around that, or actually presenting something around that. Okay, so there's that stuff. And then what else is out there? There's a lot of other things, like, you have the hot reload, which we talked about in the, we actually did a little demo about it, in the Blazor application, and all the other cool stuff that's in there. One of the coolest things, though, and people that, grew up, early, just start working in the industry, mid 90s, early 2000s will recognize this immediately. Sometimes, the fancy ways of, deployments, through, continuous integration, continuous deployment pipelines, doesn't quite, come through. Sometimes you have servers that are living, with no internet connection and no integration points. And the only way to actually, do that is for another server within the same network, to do FTE and deploy binaries, immediately into your IIS server. So what does that basically mean? It means that, a lot of times, I have seen situations a long, long time ago, maybe over 15, 20 years ago, where people will go and say, well, we can't do a direct deployment, right? So we need to just go copy these files and download them, or just paste them into the folder in the IIS server. This problem is solved. We don't have this problem today. If you do it, if you work with .NET 6, it'll allow you to do a replace to your binaries and relinking. We used to actually shut down the server completely, take away these files and then replace them with, it was an open heart surgery. It was really bad, and there are still scenarios today that, still require that. I don't think, not even in the near future, I'd be running into this problem, since, we have evolved a lot since then. But here we are today. It solves a problem, especially for bigger enterprise application, legacy enterprise applications that are supporting so many different clients. This could come in very handy. Daniel Roth talks about it a little bit, in here. He basically says, we have added a new feature in ASP.NET Core module for IIS to add support for shadow copying your application assemblies. Currently, .NET locks application libraries when running on Windows, making it impossible to replace binaries with the application still running. Again, he's saying that the recommendation is not to do that, but they recognize there are some certain scenarios. I've been there myself, where FTP deployments is the way that people want to go, and it's not possible to use any app offline file or any of that stuff. Right? So he talks a little bit more about the details, of this. So this is another great advantage that I can relate to. So we talked about, Blazor upgrades. There's HTTP3, there's a hot reload. I haven't really visited much of these, especially for C++, and hopefully I'll be able to talk a little bit towards Blazor WebView, providing controls for WPF and Windows Forms. Now, this guy here, the enable Redis profiling session, I'll talk about it very little because I know it's not super used and super popular mainstream things. I try to focus on the things that really impacts people. Here's the one thing that I really like about this the most. Profiling is important so we can measure the performance and, measure the, be able to kind of get a feel about how your application is performing, especially when it's integrated with external systems and such. This piece in here is actually a contribution from outside of the ASP.NET team. This is a community contribution from Stack Exchange, and kudos to the gentleman that put together Gabriel Lusasi. I hope I'm saying it, or I hope I'm saying the name right. It's a community contribution to enable Redis profiling session with Microsoft Extension caching Stack Exchange. This is such a great moment. Imagine that you have a contribution, you found an issue, and then it becomes a part of the official release, of something as wide and is as commonly used as ASP.NET Core. So kudos to my friend here to, on the contribution. There's a lot of documentation about, profiling. Stack exposes multiple methods, performance, you're measuring all of that stuff with Redis. Some people, really leverage that stuff, when they're trying to, understand, try to understand the Redis cache performance and profiling and all that. This is that, and it's great, and it's really important. This is the gentleman that made that contribution. If you're into profiling your ASP.NET requests, API communications, and all that stuff, by all means, go and visit the gentleman's, GitHub. Make sure you give him a star, and take a look at his repository and his genius work around that. Now, with that in mind, let's go back to OtripleS. For those who are, watching these videos for the first time, haven't followed much of the previous videos, OtripleS is an open source schooling system. A schooling system that is dedicated and built specifically to provide the world with a better schooling system for everybody. There's a trick about this schooling system, though. This schooling system is open source and free to use to any school around the world, as long as that school, that very school that uses this system, dedicates the funds, the existing funds. Every school has funds for software. If they dedicate the existing funds of the software that they would have used if they wouldn't use OtripleS, to dedicate that to the financially disadvantaged students, right? Every school everywhere has, maybe one or two or a group of students that are struggling financially, right? Their families are struggling, their parents, can't, give them that much allowance like the rest of their peers at school. The point of this system is to ask schools around the world, say whatever, monthly, yearly, annual subscription, whatever you pay, even if it's a one-time thing, whatever money you were going to pay for the existing proprietary schooling system, we want you to distribute that to the financially disadvantaged students in your district, to the people that are attending your students. And if you're in a rich school and everyone there is rich, then find a school that has, maybe, in the suburbs or something like that, a school that it doesn't have that much, wealthy kids to be able to contribute that money back to them. This project is a work of love. There's a whole bunch of engineers, over 28 contributors to this project. That's a ginormous team of engineers. 20 engineers, 3,775 commits, and over 322 PRs closed within less than a year time frame. A very very high activity project, and the project, people that contribute to this project are from all over the world. So there's always an activity going on there, right? There's always an activity going on in this project. It's 100% written C#, ASP.NET 5, and today we're going to take advantage. Here's a kickstart and what's our engineering standard, what's our coding standard. Really highly recommend you take a look at these things. But what we're going to do today is that we're going to upgrade this project from .NET 5 to .NET 6. We're going to keep it up to date, and we're going to keep pushing it forward until it reaches a level of maturity where we can release it as an instance and people can take advantage of it, especially schools. So how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you install ASP.NET, .NET 6 preview. And this is specifically for the contributors of this project. Really, really important, that you do this. So here's the download, the preview 3, right? So if you go into .NET, Microsoft.com, download .NET 6, you'll be able to see the binaries where you need to install that. So go ahead and download that. I'm going to give you the link in the description, just like always. And then number two, you want to run Visual Studio Preview. So here's my OtripleS project, right? And I'm just getting a fresh copy from master. Someone commented the auto migration, so I had to take that off. And I'm gonna walk you through the upgrade. Let me even increase the font more because I did it in 150%, but I think we can go more. Here's 175. I hope that works. I hope that's visible. So here's the deal. It's about the files on the right and the left side more than anything. And since these files are too big, let's see if I can help out. Okay, there you go. So all right, so here's the deal. We want to upgrade an existing ASP.NET Core 5 application to .NET 6. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. How are we going to do that? We're going to go, so now that I have this installed, I'm running here the Visual Studio Preview. So for the contributors of this project, this is Visual Studio version 16.10 Preview 2.0, right? It's an enterprise preview. It's free to use. Go ahead, go on Visual Studio website and download it if you want to start contributing to this project. Now, let's go ahead and upgrade our project. There's a couple of ways you could do this. You could manage NuGet packages for the entire solution. And what that basically is going to do, you want to make sure you include the pre-release, because the pre-release is where .NET 6 is right now. It's in pre-release mode, and we want to basically take advantage of it. So I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to take the libraries. I should delete the bogus library. I'm very happy with Dynamics. The reason why I switched from bogus to Dynamics, or rather tried bogus and said no, I'm not going to use bogus, is because it forces me to define a generation value for every single property on the system, which is not what I want to do here. But fluent assertions is good. I don't know if I think there's some development going on there. I see February 21, 2021. So, Brian Chavez is doing some work on it, and I really appreciate that. Anyway, we're going to upgrade everything. So everything is going to .NET 6. Everything in here, MVC testing, SQL Server, all of these things, design and the entity framework more than anything is going to .NET 6. Let's go ahead and update our system. This is another thing to talk about, because this system is thoroughly tested. It's really, really important for you to understand that, I guess we have to upgrade them one by one. Let's see what are the errors that we have. Because the system is thoroughly tested, I know that when I run my tests after the upgrade, I know that my system is healthy. I know that my system is healthy because my tests are thorough. So I don't have to worry about anything breaking or anything not working in any way, shape, or form, especially for unit tests and acceptance tests, not just unit tests, especially more to acceptance tests than anything else. Because this is where all the changes happen, right? The changes, it's not your business logic that will be much impacted by a core library upgrade. It's the boundaries of your system, how you configure your security, how you configure your integration with other systems and all that kind of stuff. These are the things that actually get impacted heavily. So let's see what's going on here. Pack changes. Sometimes you have to just try a couple of times. Let's see if I can do this. Preview. Let's do it one by one. Oh, I see what's going on. We need to upgrade all our projects to .NET 6 first. That's actually kind of important. That's the whole point of this video. So let's go ahead and upgrade everything to .NET 6. I don't know if there's a way to do all the projects at once to .NET 6. I don't know if that works, but let me know if you know about a nice trick. That rather than doing them one by one. You know how lazy engineers are. They want to do everything as fast as possible. Lazy in a good way. So okay, so there's this thing, and then let's go ahead and try to upgrade our libraries again. Let's give it another hit and see if that works. Ah, there you go. That's it. Just as simple as that. But that's not good enough, right? So you upgraded everything, right? The only thing that's left is bogus, and I actually don't need bogus, so let me get rid of it while I'm at it. If you see something like this, let's go ahead and say, well, we don't use this anymore, so we may as well just throw it away. So here's unit tests. Let's go back into manage NuGet packages. I hope nobody's using it. It should not. So let's remove that guy. Bogus is out. All right, let's build everything again. Here's a clean solution, brand new clean solution. And here's a rebuild. Here we go. And now everything is now just because it's building. Now just because your solution is building, it doesn't mean that we're done here. So let me go ahead and start a fresh test on my local machine. This is what I call, I was talking to a couple of friends the other day about this, and I said this is what I call airplane mode. Airplane mode is to be able to run an entire suite of tests for your application without having to worry about being connected to the internet or not. You know, that basically gives you that kind of look and feel. There's emulators, there's, you know, mocks and all these things that tells you this boundary, this system as it stands is in good shape. Now put it out there on the internet and let's see how it connects to other nodes. Now, let me see here if I have any OtripleS. I have a lot of projects. Element BQ. Yeah, I don't have OtripleS in here. Okay, now is a good chance for us to go ahead and run the tests. Here's my test explorer. I usually use the command line, but just for the visual effect here, I'm gonna run this. Let's start with the unit test. Let's make sure our logic is in good state, right? We have a 1455 tests testing every single aspect of foundation service layers. Boom, look at this, 15 seconds, done. And by the way, the 15 seconds is for the UI. You know, if you run it from the command line, I'm almost certain that it runs a lot shorter than that. Let me see if I can demo that for you real quick. So if I go in here and say .NET test, this is gonna run both the acceptance and the unit test, but the one I really care about is the unit test for now. So look at this. It took literally 700 milliseconds. 700 milliseconds, that's less than a second, to execute 1455 tests. And in any respectful, real life, useful enterprise application, you know, expect that number to go up to 3,000, 4,000. It doesn't make sense to have to hold the engineers hostage for 20 minutes. I've seen this before. I've seen, you know, applications where the tests alone, they take over 20 minutes, right? That's something is wrong there. You're wasting tremendous amount of resources and time, that some resources that engineers can actually bring back. Now look at the acceptance test. Acceptance test is more like real life scenario. It's hitting the API and going all the way to the database and coming back. Let's see how long that one take. Ideally, it should take less than a minute. Let's see if that's the case. We should probably look into the middleware errors, but these existed before .NET 6. Let's give this guy a chance. And are we done? We're done. It took about 59 seconds to test over 96 APIs in your system. About a minute, less than a minute really, to test 96 tests. Right? What that basically means is that it went and provisioned and built the database, because I cleaned up my database. I completely, you know, destroyed. And this is highly encouraged people that are working on this project and people, engineers in general. If you're running on airplane mode, right, offline, you're trying to test your system, make sure you blow up your database. Blow up all existing configurations. Start from scratch before you push your code forward. So we should be able to see some OtripleS stuff in here. Let me refresh that page. Do I see? Yeah, there it is. Here's OtripleS. I got all my tables provisioned. Look at all these models. All of this has been running and provisioned in literally, well, it took a second on the unit test and 59 seconds, so 1 minute, 1 minute exactly. You know, you already have full confidence that your system is running in good state. Right? So now that we've upgraded this, you know, let's go ahead and, you know, okay, now that you're running and all that kind of stuff, this is all great. You know, I want to go ahead and test my home controller. I just want to make sure that when I run the system locally on my machine, just for the people that will be actually using your system, you know, okay, your acceptance tests give you that kind of confidence just to go the extra mile. This is what they say. This is a manifestation or a translation when people say go the extra mile. They say just run it anyway. Do a little bit of quick check like that. You know, of course, your acceptance test will tell you things are running and all that kind of stuff. But just on the off chance that there is some IIS configuration or anything else that needs to happen, you know, this is gonna catch it up. Okay, it's giving me hello Mario, and if I say students, I'm assuming it's gonna give me, you know, a list of students. There you go, and it's empty because I created and updated. Everything just smoothly working as expected. Now it's time for us to just go and do a quick cleanup Analyze, run code cleanup, profile 1, the one that comes out of the box. Just a quick cleanup, for the indentations and the taps and removing, usings that we don't need and all that kind of stuff. And then we push the application forward. Look how many files this system have. I can't wait for the new version of Visual Studio 64-bit to see, because this machine that I'm running right now have 25 cores, I think 25 cores. So it would be interesting to see, how Visual Studio is going to take advantage of that. It would be very, very interesting to see that. All right, just waiting for this cleanup to happen. And while this is running, I lied. It has 24 logical processors, not 25, 24 logical processors and 12 cores. 12 cores with the utilization of over 44%. Hopefully, we'll see a big improvement, with Visual Studio 64-bit, in the upcoming release. All right, here we go. Everything is cleaned up. Did it change a lot of files? Oh, it changed about 22 files. Okay, that's why. All right, that makes sense. All right, let's submit this. So what is this? This is basically config, right? And there is a standard for submitting things. Are you submitting a broker? Are you submitting a foundation, coordination, or config? Sometimes you may say, I want to submit migration, right? So this is a data migration, but that's only if you have, data only things in your system. Like, for instance, you're going and seeding data through your broker. Yeah, that's data, or migration, and then whatever the case may be. So config, and this will say upgrade to .NET 6 Preview 3. Now let's go ahead and push that guy upstream. And there's one more thing that we have to do. We're not done yet. Now you upgraded this, we need to fix our pipelines, right? So we need to go and observe and see how our pipelines are going to react to this. So we have our pipelines in here. All right, and let's see our pipelines. Here's OtripleS. Here's the upgrade to .NET 6. I expect this guy to blow up, and that's okay. Let me sign in real quick here, and let me go and make sure we pull in the .NET 6 configuration there. There we go. And then let me go back to GitHub. Go to OtripleS. I expect this guy to fail for the .NET 6 upgrade. Did it? Yeah, immediately it failed. Why did it fail? Because now you're running on .NET 6. I don't know. It's not going to run like that. So if you go into the logs, just because it failed, don't just say, let's just assume that it failed for the right reasons. There you go. Restore. It's basically saying build failed. I don't know how to run MS build. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. Please help me. Right? All right, let's go fix that guy. So in here, we're going to go and say, here's OtripleS. Let's edit this pipeline. And where did we go? So there's a piece here where do you remember last time we did this? We used the .NET 5. It's such an interesting time because things have passed real fast on this project. We went from .NET 3.1 to 5, and now we are in 6. Let's go ahead and upgrade that. Where do you get this value from, right? Someone might ask you, said, where is this value coming from, right? So I'm just going to go ahead in here, and I'm going to take you to the .NET 6 page for download. And you see that really nice value that you have. Yeah, it should be this value right here, the full version, right? So let's copy this guy here. It comes in with C#9 and F#5. Let's go ahead and upgrade this guy and kick off our build again and see if things work. There you go. And then I'm gonna save, and let's go back here and let's kick off another run from master. There you go. This guy is running Ubuntu. I might need to change that pipeline to actually have it also run the acceptance test in the pipeline. I got lucky with one, but I need to actually standardize this. Okay, so .NET build, use .NET. It's going to try to pull .NET 6. Here we go. And then it looks like this one succeeded. And then let's see if the restore works. Looks like it's going. It's going. Let me hide my face away. You guys don't need that. Here is the all right, here's a build. So the restore passed. Let's kick it off with .NET 6. See, 3 is gone and has been removed. See, if you stay up to date like this, things get a lot better. Here's the build. Should I zoom this out a little bit? Here. All right, and now running all the tests. Boom, test executed. 3 seconds. I don't know why it took 3 seconds on this one. Still fabulous that, 1,400 tests have passed. Okay, so everything now executed, everything now is successful. If we go back to OtripleS, you can see the progress here. So you have all the builds and everything is successful, as reported in here. Wonderful. So this is it. We upgraded to .NET 6, and now this ASP.NET Core API is running on .NET 6, right? One last thing that's a little bothersome to me. Let's go ahead in here and fix a couple, and this is just me showing you have to do your due diligence, right? When you run your application, if you see warnings in your application, don't just say, oh well, my application is still running. The difference between a software craftsman and someone who just does it as a job is these little things. Going the extra mile and looking at warnings like these and fixing them, right? And these warnings are there for a reason. They're saying, okay, I'm not going to destroy, your entire process of building your software because of this, but it would probably be nice if you did. Like this, for instance, this guy is not asynchronous. It's probably just a mistake, It's not asynchronous. It doesn't need to be asynchronous. Let's go ahead and remove this guy real quick. And it doesn't need to be asynchronous anymore, so let's clean this up. Right, control period, clean everything up. Now we're down to 5. Right, now we have an error though. You want to take care of the errors. Anything that's using this doesn't need to be asynchronous either. Now we're good. Let's go back to our warnings. This is how I do it, right? You're going and cleaning up as you go. This thing is the same thing. This guy doesn't need to be asynchronous, right? So let's take this guy out. Someone has been asking me the other day, and someone asked me about using value task versus task. I'm really trying to get to the point where I can explain this piece because it's a lot faster to use value task than using task because it doesn't try to play trickery on your value task is not trying to play trickery. And oh, look at this. This is a code violation right there. You're not supposed to stack inputs like that, and also you're supposed to use naming variables. So let's see if it gives us add argument name. Oh, it is random. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. So here's this. And why is it random teacher? That's not a good name. This should just be teacher. There you go. And this should be classroom. I think classroom is one word. And this should be course. See, as you're going, you're cleaning up and making sure your system is in good standing. So you're, Uncle Bob says, there's a scout rule, Boy Scout rule. Leave things better than you found them. Leave things better than you found them. Okay, you are upgrading, but you could do this code drop since you already made a commit. Why don't you go and do this code drop? So this one was asynchronous for no reason at all. And let's try this one as well. This is probably on me because I'm the one reviewing the PR. The easiest thing when it comes to software is to play a blame game with the team. If you're the ones approving PRs, you can only blame yourself because you saw that code. You can't go back and tell people, hey, why did you do it this way, right? But it's always nice to have retrospectives and learn from people what they're doing and what they think. Okay, cleaning up, and what is this guy? This guy says this service is never used. Oh, okay, we don't need that guy. iStudent exam service. Yep, everything else is good. And then you'll see some things like these that can be static. See that when you see these three dots under any method, it basically means, okay, here's another one. Here's an empty line that we don't need, and we're not using enumerables anymore. We use something called TheoryData. And TheoryData basically helps you, push in calculated inputs, so it's a lot easier to do things this way. So what is this new TheoryData? Probably int, like this, and we don't need any of that stuff. You can select multiple lines like this, and you can select multiple lines like this. And here we are. Right? You just clean as you go. This is what CodeRub is. You look at things and you clean as you go. Let's do another quick cleanup, project cleanup. So you go and analyze and then run code cleanup real quick. Here we go again. Someone asked me the question about, how come we're not breaking this apart into microservices? And, it's really a bad idea to start any new project from scratch as microservices. What you should do is that you start from a monolith, and then you break into microservice as you deem necessarily, because you don't know your domain yet. You don't know where you want to break up and where you want to, it doesn't matter how much you can do it, in your head, you don't know what things are until the rubber hits the road. And the only way to do that is to start monolith and then start breaking apart from that monolith. The trick is to build that monolithic application with a microservices mindset, just like how we're doing it in here. In here, you will see what seems to be redundant exceptions, but actually every service is encapsulated within one folder. So if I pluck out the assignments attachments controller with the assignment attachments model with the assignment attachment services and brokers, I'm good to go. Off the bat, I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about doing any surgical, things to or operations to detach, my microservices out of my monolith. Okay, so just a quick cleanup in here. We got all of this in place. Now let's just go ahead and run and build again and make sure that our build doesn't have any warnings. Do we have any warnings? We don't have any warnings in here. It's beautiful, it's good, it's dandy. There's probably a lot more code rubs in here, but here we are. So code rub. If you're not familiar with what code rub is, I'll share a link about code rub. It basically, tells every engineer on the team, take 10 minutes or 15 minutes look at the existing system and every file in the system and make sure that it follows the engineering standard, because the engineering standard changes every day. So, or not every day, very often it changes, and someone needs to keep this up to date. By the time you're done with your project, you have absolutely no tech debt whatsoever. Anyway, so fix all warnings. Fix all warnings and code cleanup. Here you go. And then let's push this guy up there. Sure. Pull and push, because we updated the pipelines, the YAML pipelines, to use .NET 6, so it kind of wrote to that system. Here we are. So now we're much cleaner. If we go back to our build in here, it should tell you that there is a build running. See that little dot in here? And if you go into the details, you should be able to see all the little details about what's happening in that pipeline. It didn't connect yet, but if you go into the pipeline here, you'll be able to see it start. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Upgrading to .NET 6. We talked a little bit about .NET 6, why we need to upgrade, a little bit of a, introduction to code rubs and, software craftsmanship. Keep your code clean, keep it, straightforward. You can actually have a ginormous project without having it to be messy and harder to look at and harder to work with. That's pretty much it. If you have any comments or questions or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. I really appreciate the feedback from people, and it always brings quite happiness to my heart, to look at how people are engaged with these series and these engineering standard and these projects, and hopefully, we can all help each other out building something that could actually help humanity in general and help each other, each and every person individually. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video.